Hello and welcome back to Mastering Flat Design. In this video, we're going to get started on the next section of our website, which is going to be the content slider. And it's going to have a few slides that animate through with some featured content in it. And we're only going to design the first slide for this slider. So we're going to start by turning on our guides. So Command H to turn those back on, or Control H if you're using a PC. We don't need this guide right here next to the services button. That was just a temporary guide, so we can get rid of that. And now I'm going to draw the background rectangle for our content slider. And it's just a simple white rectangle. So I'm going to choose the rectangle tool. I'm going to choose first of all, you want to make sure you don't have any other vector layers selected. When in doubt, you can always just create a new layer and draw your rectangle onto that layer. So we'll create a new layer over here. And then for our fill color, I'm going to choose white. And we're not going to use a stroke here, so leave your stroke turned off. And then we'll simply click and drag across so that it takes up the entire 1000 pixels of the content width. And I want it to be 320 pixels tall, so we'll drag it down until it comes about to 320. There we go. And then V to switch to the move tool. I'm going to drag it up till it snaps to the bottom edge of the navigation. I'm going to turn off my guides for a moment by hitting Command H or Control H on a PC, and then we'll nudge it down 4 pixels. There we go. So there's the background for our content slider. Now let's put some text on it. So we'll start with the title for the first slide, which is going to be Web Design Services. So T to switch to the text tool. I'm going to go ahead and type in our text here, Web Design Services. I want that to be left aligned. Enter on the numeric keypad to apply those changes. I want to choose a bold font. We're going to use Centany, the same font we've been using, but we're going to change it from regular to bold. And for the font size, I'm going to choose 24 point. And then for the color, I'm going to use the same coral color again that we used for the background of the home button. So we'll click in the color selector here and then just eyedropper that orange coral color there. Okay, and then we'll go to our character panel, and you'll notice that I've got some spacing applied between the letters. I want to get rid of that, so I'm just going to return that to 0. V to switch to the move tool, and there we go. So I'm going to drag this over to the left edge here, and then nudge it over 90 pixels by holding onto the Shift key and hitting the right arrow key 9 times. And there's our title. So then we have a paragraph that we're going to paste below it. I've already copied that paragraph to my clipboard, so I just need to go to the text tool here. I'm going to create a new layer above that text layer that we just created. And for this one, we're going to have Centany regular, and the font size we're going to use here is going to be 14 point. And we're going to use a medium gray color for this. So the color we're going to use is C6, C6, C6. There we go. And then we'll click and drag out to create our text field. I want this to be 310 pixels wide. So we'll drag it out until we get close to 310. And you'll see it's not going directly to 310. So I'm going to release. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Sometimes zooming in helps. And then we'll grab this handle here and drag it in until we get to 310 pixels and release. Okay, so now let's scroll over a little bit. Command 1 to zoom back out to 100%. And we'll paste our text here. I've already got it copied onto my clipboard, so I'm just going to hit Command V to paste this text. And it's just a short piece of text describing the design services that Jerry Clutterbuck offers. So once we've got that in place, I'll drag this up to make sure it's aligned with the left edge of the web design services, and then I'll nudge it back down to about there. And then the last thing I want to do for this particular video is to put a button underneath this text that says click here to learn more. So going along with this flat design trend, I'm going to create a flat colored bold looking button with rounded corners on it, and it's going to be that same orange coral color that we've been using. So I'm going to navigate over to the rounded rectangle tool. We'll click and drag out, and I want this to be 310 pixels wide as well. And I want it to be 60 pixels tall. So we'll drag this down till we've got 310 by 60 and then release. And then for the fill color here, I want to use, again, that same background color that we use for the home button. V to switch to the move tool and then nudge it into place. And you'll notice that I've set the corner roundness or corner radius here to 4 pixels. And if you're using an older version of Photoshop, then you won't have this properties panel here that shows that anymore. If you're using an older version of Photoshop, then once you've created that rounded rectangle, it's just a plain vector shape. You can no longer change the corners, but with Photoshop CC, we can come in here and change those rounded corners if we want to. So we've rounded them even more by 10 pixels. I'm going to bring that back down to 4 pixels. V to switch to the move tool and just nudge it around until it looks like it's in a good position. And then T to switch to the text tool. And we've still got that rounded rectangle selected. So if I were to hover over it right now, we'd get that insertion cursor with the circle around it. And that's not what we want. We don't want to type on a path. We just want to create a new text layer. So we're going to hold on to Shift and you'll see it changes back to the regular text insertion cursor. So then we can click there and the text here is going to be click here to learn more. You got to spell that right. Learn more. Okay, I'm going to change that text color to white. I'm going to bring up the size to 18 pixels or 18 point. And then we'll grab the rounded rectangle layer and the click here to learn more text layer, and we're going to align those together. So with the move tool selected, we're going to click here to align the vertical centers, click here to align the horizontal centers, and there we go. Now our text is centered over the button. So now we can group these two together and call that group Learn More BTN for button. And then we have the Learn More button, the Jerry Clutterbuck paragraph here, the light gray text, and then the Web Design Services text field up here. I'm going to grab the button, maybe move it down a little bit, and then grab all 3 of those, the button group, the paragraph text, and the heading text. I'm going to grab all 3 of those and just space them evenly vertically. And then we might need to, because of the way that the text is aligned, we might need to nudge it around a little bit. I'll just nudge that paragraph up a little bit until we have it looking like it's spaced where we want it to be. Now I'm going to grab all 3 of those and then just nudge them down a little bit, and there we go. So in the next video, we'll take this a little bit further. We're going to add some more content over here to the right, some imagery, and then we'll add some navigation to our slider. So that wraps it up for now. Let's save this as flatdesign06.psd, and we'll move on to the next video. Thank you for watching.